Despite the digital age, there are still plenty of businesses out there that prefer to send out invoices instead of taking a credit card number. But what happens if they take too long to send the invoice? Do you call them and remind them, or do you let it go? The Moneyologist Quentin Fottrell is here to help. Man, this is an interesting story. This is a guy who was in Florida on the off season and had a home in Ohio, right?
Right.
And it wanted someone to plow their lawn or their snow.
Plow it, he did. Plow the snow. And then that was in January. And now what are we in April? And he's reminded him a couple of times, and the fellow still hasn't sent the invoice. And he feels like he should pay the money because it's the responsible thing to do. But he's, like I said to him, he plowed your snow and now you're hurting his kittens because that's what it feels like when you're trying to get a job done and it's not going anywhere. So, but I really use the question to talk about, on the one hand, time management, and on the other, like procrastination and what causes it.
Mm-hmm. This will kill your business if you can't get your billing right.
Right. So in terms of time management, I spoke to a woman recently, Gretchen Rubin, who wrote a book called The Happiness Project, and she has the 1 minute rule. If it takes 1 minute or less to do it, you don't put it on a list of things to do, you just do it. You get it off your desk because the amount of time it takes in your head makes it less productive. So in this case, the fellow who wrote to me was the customer. So I advised him to call the guy, get the figure that he needs to pay him for the snow plowing, write a check, put a stamp on it, put it in a pocket for the next time he comes across a mailing box and post it. The actual writing of the check and the phone call should take less than a minute because this has been on his mind for 3 months. And he obviously feels morally obliged to pay the guy. He doesn't want to walk away from this. So he needs to employ the 3 minute rule.
Right. What an honest guy, though, right?
Yeah, very honest. And the other part is just to sort of have a bit of compassion because I looked at studies and they show that procrastination people always think is related to laziness. Actually, it's not really. I looked at some work from Princeton University. There was a book called The Procrastination Equation. Really, it suggests that procrastination is more related to anxiety, not to being lazy. So the longer this goes on, the more awkward it will feel. The more awkward it feels for the guy who did the snow plowing, the less likely he is to call the customer. So you're doing him a favor by getting the figure, getting it done, and you're also doing yourself a favor because having this kind of issue hanging over you is just as tasking and time-consuming in some ways than plowing the snow off somebody's driveway.
Well, the guy did have a lot of driveways to plow this year, so maybe he just got overwhelmed, as you say.
He might have got overwhelmed, in which case, you know, and a lot of students get overwhelmed with college work. It's the same principle of anxiety and just feeling overwhelmed with work, and it's not to do with being sloppy or lazy. So I think he needs to call this guy, get the number, write the check, get it off his desk.
All right, Quentin Fottrell, the Moneyologist. Thanks a lot, buddy.
My pleasure.